So in this presentation, I'm just looking at what I think is happening, particularly in developed markets, at retail. Because grocery retailing is under threat. What's happening out there? First of all, let's quickly have a look at what are the big global retailers. We used to talk a lot about global retailers, although now I think there's less emphasis. So here's the top 8 global retailers around the world. Number 1, by a country mile, is Walmart, which what's more has got 3 times the turnover of number 2, which was Carrefour from France, and it's now been pushed by Costco. And then third was Tesco, but Tesco has slimmed down a lot. And then the hard discounters from Germany, which are international, Lidl and Aldi, and then the great German retailer Rewe and Metro, which is in many countries too. So those are the top 8. With the exception of Aldi and Lidl, the German hard discounters, all the global retailers have had a really tough global financial crisis. If we look back over the last 8 years, they've all struggled. Tesco almost cataclysmically. Walmart, who'd have thought Walmart going backwards? So what's all that about? Well, let's take a quick look in the UK. What's happening in the UK? Here we've seen the great international retailer Tesco, plus Asda, which is Walmart, and then other majors like Morrison's and Sainsbury's, have been squeezed, and squeezed heavily, by these 2 hard discounters, Aldi and Lidl, smaller stores with a very limited offer, 1,200 products, rather than say the 25,000 products you might see in a bigger store. So squeezed at one end by the hard discounters, and then by a premium retailer at the other. And so in mature markets like the UK, where there's plenty of competition at grocery retail, all we've seen is wherever you have a supermarket environment where 95% of total sales are by major supermarkets, if they're squeezed, somebody has to lose market share, and it's been the big boys, and they haven't liked it at all. And that's reflected in the grocery market shares. What we can see is that over the last couple of years, for example, Tesco has lost market share, Sainsbury's just about held on, Asda, Walmart lost market share, Morrison's lost market share, and who's won? Aldi has gone up, Lidl has gone up, and Waitrose went up, and it's sort of about stable at the moment. So it's been tough for the big players. Tesco is sort of clambering its way out of the great hole that it dug itself, where if you went back to 2014, its like-for-like sales were down 5% year on year. That's just awful for a major supermarket. And they've managed to claw their way in the most recent quarter into a position where they made 1%, roughly 1% increase in sales. That's next to nothing. So why? What's all this about? Well, in part, it reflects a fundamental change in the way that people have been shopping in the UK, and indeed in many markets. So increasingly what we're doing is we visit large stores much less frequently, and when we go to large stores, we buy less, and we tend to do top-up shopping in more nearby shops, often convenience stores, more frequently. So more frequent purchases of small amounts, plus much less buying in great big barns, and superimpose on that a proportion of people, about 6% in the UK, are buying all the groceries online. And that's had a profound impact on the overall shopping, the retail environment. What do I think is going to happen here? I think it's going to continue to be really, really tough over the next 5-6 years. Why? Because in the UK, but also in many other markets, Australia is a great example, those hard discounters will continue to get market share. In the UK, for example, they have 10% of the grocery market. By 2020, they may well have 15%. So that means 5% is going to be lost by other people. Who are those other people? They'll be mainline supermarkets. And in my market, that may mean the end of one of the big boys. They may just fold and be bought by venture capital. We'll see. And at the same time, in the US, in the UK, we see pound-dollar stores nibbling away, these little, tiny little stores that have little market share, but in a saturated market, even if you take 0.1% market share, that hurts somebody. non-grocers entering grocery. So, for example, Costco was never a grocer to start with. Now, increasingly, it's a significant grocer. If you look in the UK, if we take Boots, the chemist, Boots, the pharmacy, they're a significant seller of lunches, of breakfasts. It's the same in Canada, where Shoppers Drug Mart is essentially a pharmacy with a little mini supermarket on the end, and indeed it's been bought by the major retailer Loblaws. And then who would have thought that Amazon would be into grocery, to selling groceries? What else is happening? Big FMCG goes direct, so big fast-moving consumer goods are starting to say, and what if we need retail? Why don't we just sort of go around it? I'll give you an example in a minute. And also, it's brilliant news for small-scale firms in the food industry, because increasingly because of the internet, small-scale, tiny firms can have access to the consumer market directly. They can talk to their customers directly without going through retail, and indeed they are. Food service striking back with home delivery. And these big box stores, their volume has been squeezed. Look, the financial mechanics of big store retailing is that it's like riding a bike. You need forward momentum. You need growth in sales. And if sales growth stops, it's like your bike stopping. And what happens when your bike stops? You fall off. And that's what's happened with Tesco. Those huge stores need big volume. And if they're going backwards, it doesn't work financially. And then there are big losses. Convenience stores consolidating and doing better, and this is all in an environment of continued slow economic growth and low inflation. Retailers don't like that.